Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday. Wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me, as always, we have Brian and Heno. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, I'm not even going to front and, say that we're going to try to be more consistent and all that jazz, because obviously, as you picked up before now, folks, I'm just lying. I'm sorry.
Lie like a rug.
Yep.
Yeah, we are trying. So I do apologize that we did not have an episode up last week. We are going to be going bi-weekly for our regular listeners. So it will be every 2 weeks. You'll start hearing our friendly voices, and we will do our best to be
Polyweekly.
No, bi-weekly, right?
Polyweekly. I'm not
All
poly.
right, we'll be poly-weekly. We'll be very modern.
I don't know. That would be maybe sometimes it's multiple weeks, sometimes it's one.
Actually, maybe moving the needle is polyweekly because we have a different cast of characters like every single episode.
That's true. You do.
I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, I totally talked over you, Jen, like I didn't care.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I'm so used to it. No. All right, folks. So I do apologize, but like I said, every other week we will be here with your friendly voices in your ears and all that good jazz. So Who wants to kick us off and start us off tonight?
Let me tell you a story about stress.
All right, get comfortable, folks. Story time.
Gather round, childrens.
The olive tree. The bush of wisdom. The shrub of seeing.
I feel like we should have a Manscaped ad now.
Well, it's appropriate because Hannah is our elder, so our elder's telling us stories.
Yeah,
true. I will explain why this every other week thing works better, because I had gastritis for 2 weeks straight. That felt like it was going to become an ulcer if it wasn't already.
Oh, yay. That's a good time.
Every day. And the thing about it is, like, I would wake up and it wouldn't be so bad. And by the time I got to work.
Oh, that's so much worse. Wouldn't be so bad if it was the opposite. You wake up, it's terrible. But by the time you get to work, you're feeling fine.
Mm-hmm.
And usually for a long time, I obviously have something that causes gastritis. I can predict sometimes what it is, but for the most part, I can't. And that was one of the reasons I was doing the probiotics all the time, because it seemed to be better. But when I had the gastritis, it was worse. Like it was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it usually had a pattern. Well, but a couple weeks ago, it just went off the pattern. It was completely different than ever. It started earlier in the day. It just never, it didn't keep me up all night, thankfully. But usually it's something that hits me in the evening and then is horrible at night. And then eventually sometime, I fall asleep and I don't sleep really well. Well, this one, like, it never really got bad, but then it kicked in at, 3 a.m. or something. And it just for 2 weeks afterwards, it was just all the time. I could just feel it there all the time. And I could tell it was stress related.
Yeah.
It had to do with, it was completely, and I could feel it when it would literally kick in with what was going on at work and what was going on with my mood. And it wasn't even work. It was after work. It was anything that felt like there was a demand on me. And instead of, like, when you're always in that anxiety phase where you feel like you've got butterflies, like every situation, just you're in that type of a fear.
Yeah.
Just switch out the nervous butterflies and insert pain. Like that's really what it was. It was just belly pain. And I was almost about to go to the doctor, but then last week, so there were a couple things. I had an opportunity, and this one's really killing me, an opportunity to get a rental space where I could do recording, rehearsals, and possibly even rent it out to other people who have interests, people that want to teach, do lessons, this and that. And if it happened a year ago, I would have done it like in a heartbeat, like not a problem. But just because of what's going on right now, and did I mention the last time I was on that I broke 2 teeth? I think I did.
Yeah, you did. Yep.
So find that kind of financial stuff. And I kept going by it. I wanted to see it. I really wanted to see if this could be something that could be done. And then finally I was like, the stress was just getting to me. Like even just the thought of it, of business and everything. And I just finally said, no, I can't do this. I just can't do this right now. And just called landlord and, let her know that, thank you and all that kind of stuff. And that felt a little bit okay. But last Wednesday, when we would usually podcast, we had no text messages going around, and I was like, sweet, because I did 2 gigs last Saturday. I had one in the morning and then one at night, and we were going to have a rehearsal on Thursday, but there was a couple of songs that I really needed to like pre-rehearse so that rehearsal was good.
Oh, okay.
And so and one of them was my own song, which I didn't even know how to play.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That
would have been great in rehearsal. You go in there and they're like, all right, let's play that song. And you're and you're like, hold on a second. And you're like,
for like the last 2 weeks, whenever we got together in practice, I was just guessing. Like, I got the lyrics down mostly,
Yeah.
you know.
You're like, is
But,
that
like-
hot cross buns? No.
Hilarious. So finally, I had to bring. Well, thankfully, I'm the one that recorded it, so I could bring up my track.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, that's what I played." Okay. I was like, I was nowhere even in the ballpark. I didn't even have a clue. So I just drilled this over and over again, and it actually, I wasn't even sure if I could play and sing it at the same time. Turns out I could. And at some point and I had everything cranked up. Sharon wasn't around, and just got the music going. I'm just playing, and all of a sudden I realized my stomach wasn't bothering me, and it just felt good, and I was like, wow, if that doesn't tell me something right there,
Yeah.
like,
You'll
know,
listen
what-
to your body, right? You know, it's
yeah,
telling you what you
and
needed.
it's doing music for me. It's because I'm still doing projects for other people, and those projects are actually contributing to stress. And it's not like that. No one's being unreasonable here. That's the thing. Like, no, there's nothing unreasonable. I'm just it's enough that I'm very sensitive to it. And so that when that happened, I was like, okay, given a choice of what I could do in an evening that's going to make me feel better, I should be doing this. This is what I should do. I should play more
Yeah.
and do less of other things. So when Jen, you brought it up, it was something that I've wanted to talk about, but I do still love podcasting. It's just sometimes I get that feeling of like, it's this thing again that I have to do.
Yeah.
And I build it up into more than it really is.
Yeah,
It's-
I do the same thing.
I do too.
I do, and not just with with either show that I do, like with Salty Language and with this. There's times where I'm just like, you know, and I always enjoy doing it. You know, by the time we're done, I'm like, man, I'm glad I did that kind of thing. But I do the same thing. There's just some days where I'm just like, but I don't, you know, yeah. So I understand what you're saying there.
like even like for our band rehearsal. So we had this good. So we did 2 gigs last Saturday. That was a blast. First gig, show up we're setting up about 10 in the morning. It was a farmer's market. Beautiful day. Finally, the smoke was gone. Everyone out just enjoying some nice weather and clean air. And you know, we played all of a sudden it was 1 o'clock. I was like, whoa, you know, I'm ready to keep playing. Then got home for a couple hours, you know, reset, went up north, did another gig. And really had a great day. It really felt good. But we have rehearsal this Thursday, and we don't have another gig set up at all. We have no reason to rehearse. And it's this thing again where one person has to leave at 9, and the other one person doesn't get. We always say, 7:15, and the next thing you know, it's almost 8. And I'm just like, you know, if it comes down to an hour, I'll stay at home and play on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, me. Luckily, though, I've realized that if something at my house, like when we do Moving the Needle, we start at about 7. 7 is about right for me. Anything between 7 and 8, I can go and do. And I've gotten home. I've had my downtime. I've gone, you know, watered my plants, played with the dogs, had some dinner, talked to you know, it's like all the basic things that need to happen have happened, and now I can devote my time to something.
Right, because you're literally coming home and getting a recharge is what you're doing. You know, that de-stressing charges you. It's interesting how something, even if it's like an hour sometimes, that can make all the difference in the world. You know, versus having to go right from one thing into the next, into the next, into the next. You know.
Yeah, and everything comes back to there's parts of this that are on me, but everything comes back down to choices.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the master of my domain.
Yeah.
I don't have to suffer if I don't want to.
Right.
Right.
These are choices. For example, I will put off. I do all the editing for Moving the Needle. I will put it off, and now I have to do it all at the last minute.
Right.
We have a deadline, but it's that, okay, this has been 2 weeks now.
Yeah, at some point, the stress, like, you'll put enough on you
self.
You
yes.
know, yeah.
Now it's about, okay, where are my stressors self-made? Where are they, where can I make changes?
Yep.
Where are they, where I can ask for help?
Yeah.
Those kind of things is I really need to evaluate that. And then,
yep. It's interesting. My mom just went through something recently where she's been carrying a lot of stress because of, the events of the world with like the hurricane that just happened and COVID. And there's a lot of just, Afghanistan, all that kind of stuff, that there's just a lot of heavy floating around. And she's taking it on. And she was talking with, forgot who it was she was talking with the other day. And they told her, they said, you need to shrink your plate. And meaning, kind of like you don't have to put everything on your plate, or have a plate big enough to carry everything. It's like, really kind of get back to, like you were just saying, Henno, it's like, what are you putting on yourself? What can you control? Those kind of things, and really refocusing on those things, because, you realize how much stuff you just allow. It's almost like if you were walking through a buffet and other people were just putting food on your plate for you, and you're like, wait a minute, like I only wanted a couple things. How do I have everything? And that's, now you're overwhelmed, and that's a bad place to be.
Yeah. And that, like, at work, things got better this last week. Things eased up a lot, and it was a big help, and I was able to really attack a few things I wanted to get done. And there were a couple other big projects coming along that we're just postponing them, and it's going to be a relief for everybody. And yeah, it's going to cost us more money next year, but at this point, doing things right and having solid commitments is more important than how much it costs.
Yeah.
Getting the job done. And those were things that were kind of, because all last month we still don't have a full-time other employee. He's still only twice a week, our new guy. And Antonio took 2 weeks off and Omar took 2 weeks off. So we were extra understaffed in September. And like I said, the first half of September was just ugly for me. And at least as the last couple weeks, things have gotten better, but I still had a certain level of that, this pressure. And this morning, there was an exchange that, to me, I did the whole no action is an action, because how it felt, I felt like the exchange that I was being mocked. Because it was a sarcastic response was made, and in front of another employee, and it got to me right away, and it got worse. And I went, no, right now is the time to do nothing. There's no reason to do anything. Just perspective will come. And one thing I realized is the person that this happened, they're trying to get everything caught up before they go on vacation. So they're under an incredible amount of pressure. And ordinarily they try to have a certain level of profession, they're truly try to keep at a professional standard in the workplace. However, what happened today didn't feel like it. But if I reframe it and say, this was not a professional exchange. This was a personal exchange. And what I mean by that is I wasn't being attacked personally. The reaction to the situation was a personal reaction. She saw me as a friend rather than a coworker.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And it was that this is who she is naturally,
right,
would be to make a sarcastic, and it was actually to try to lighten up what is coming from a point of stress.
Right.
And I avoided all day long. I avoided too much conversation between the two of us because I actually wanted to see, and it was by the end of the day that I realized that, you know what, it's not even on our radar. It was not personal to me. It's that whole reminder of it's not personal. It's not permanent. It's temporary.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was a temporary exchange. It wasn't personal. And 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 a lot of it has to do with my own sensitivity. And it was great to still that those tools are still working for me.
Right.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Right. When I need them, they're there. So that was like win for the week. Because of Labor Day weekend, I'll be off tomorrow, and Friday, Saturday, and then I'll work Sunday, Monday. And so, today's end of my work week. I wanted to end it at least feeling accomplished, and I definitely didn't want to end it feeling like work sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't.
Good.
And it was that's the win. And that I was able to. It's that part where to give somebody space. That again, this phrase that I used to be like, what does that even mean? What does it mean to give people space? I don't understand this. And what it is allow someone to express themselves in the wrong way, but and not go after them, right? Allow people to. That's what giving space is about, is allowing people to sometimes to say something a certain way and to not blow it out of proportion. And that to me is, and to listen to what's going on in between the lines.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what giving space is. And I felt like at the end of the day, I could be generous and not take this personally, because it wasn't personally directed at me.
Right.
And so that was a good way to end the week. We'll see what happens going in this next week. Hopefully what's happened over the last few days continues on. I have commitment tomorrow, and I'm not getting freaked out about it. I'm actually excited for it, and I'm ready for it. It's one thing that has been a stressor over the last couple of weeks, and I'm not feeling any anxiety over it. So it's like, okay, cool. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully things are kind of making a bit of a turn. And then I just need to decide what I'm going to do for the next month, because I still do have some big projects out there that I really need to put some effort into and make some choices. And the other thing is, so you guys listening, you can't see it, but I have this TRX thing hanging from the ceiling behind me. I actually used it and did some exercises.
I was wondering, that's what I thought that was, but I wasn't sure what was going on over there. So.
Yeah, when my mom asked why there were hooks in the ceilings everywhere, I was like, plants? But I've purposely left that thing hanging there because my head hits it every time I come in and out, figuring eventually my head's going to hit it. And I'm going to say, hey, why don't you do a couple of pull-ups while you're here?
Right.
There you go.
If I did, yay!
That's awesome.
All right, so that is my tale of woe.
No, I mean, I feel you 100%. I was just there. So, I get it.
Yeah.
I overloaded myself, overstressed myself out. My technique wasn't quite as graceful as yours. My technique was to remove everything from my plate all at once.
Wow.
That was my gut reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My gut reaction. I'm done. I quit.
Yeah.
Everything. It's over.
The complete opposite of the overcorrection of the, like, oh, well, clearly I'm tipped so far this way. The only way to balance it is to tip all the way to the other side.
Exactly.
I wanted to do that, Jen.
Yeah.
And that is completely a classic Jen move. 100%.
Me too.
Jen.
I do it too. Yep.
Yeah. It's just that is what I do is I overload. I'm like, too much.
Yeah.
I dump everything and start over. No. And I'm I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to add back. I'm like, all right, my plate's been empty a little bit too long. It's kind of needs getting a little lonely. Needs to add a little something back in. So I'm trying to get trying to add things back in small doses. And I'm really trying hard not to let my projection of my feelings onto situations color the situation. An example would be, there's a group that I go to on Wednesday nights that always meets for dinner ahead of time, right before. And it's actually right around the corner from my job. So works out really, really well. Instead of me driving 20 minutes home, waiting an hour at home, and then driving 20 minutes back to meet my meeting, I just go right from work to dinner with some lovely people. Then we all go to the meeting. Then I head home. Makes for a good Wednesday. Well, when I cleaned my plate of everything, that was part of what I cleaned my plate of. And there are awesome people, and they kept texting me every Wednesday. Hey, we're meeting for dinner here. You want to join us? And I'm like, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. Then I got the message today. I'm like, hey, we're having dinner here. You want to join us? Every week they sent me the message. And today it hit me. I'm like, why, yes. Yes, I do. So I went and did a few errands. Then I went to dinner with them. Then I went to the meeting, and I had a quite lovely time and really enjoyed myself and got some personal growth and knowledge from the whole meeting, and it was awesome. And I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? My head was coming up with 1,000,001 reasons why I didn't. You know, and you just go right home. Your dogs miss you. You know, can watch a little TV. And then yes, my angel and my devil. And then the other side was, you know, you just spent the last 2 nights going home and watching TV and spending the evening at home. Do you need a third? Or do you need a third of socializing and getting out there and meeting people and having a growth experience and enjoying yourself? And so today was good. Will I go next Wednesday meeting? I don't know. Will I go next Tuesday meeting? I don't know. Maybe Monday? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting the pressure on myself. Every text I got that I didn't go to, I felt so much guilt. Because they're being wonderfully friendly and inviting, and how do I say no to that? You know, I want to make them happy, and I want to, I want to be happy, and, all that good stuff. But that's not fair, because they're not guilting me.
Right.
And
yeah, they're simply stating a fact is all it is.
I am guilting me.
Yep.
They're not going to hold it against me if I don't go.
Right.
They're not going to hold it against me or, disappear or stop inviting me or anything like that. Maybe they might stop inviting me if I never texted back. But I always made sure I texted back, thank you, but I can't tonight because of this and that, whatever. So I made sure, and I even told them, I'm like, please keep inviting me.
Yeah.
It's like, I just can't tonight, but please, I really appreciate you letting me know and, and messaging me. Because I didn't want them to disappear and stop inviting me.
Yeah.
But, so it's been interesting. So, like I said, I'm getting back in the groove of things. I'm feeling pretty good about stuff. And I'm trying to kind of reach out and connect with people a little bit more, which is good. I think I might have some interesting times coming down the pike because looks like there might be another layoff at my husband's work. So, unfortunately, in a couple weeks, we'll have to see how this goes. And at this moment, it is indefinite, which could be weeks, could be a month, could be longer. We don't know. So that's going to be a whole nother ball of wax. And at this moment, I'm trying not to focus too much on it. I've looked at the finances, and I know financially what that means, so I'm able to kind of work it into the budget. And we're still okay on the budget, and, all the bills and stuff will get paid and all that good stuff, so we're good there. And it's just a little bit of a lifestyle switch because he works nights, I work days usually. And having us both on similar shifts and seeing each other a lot more than usual takes a little bit of adjustment. So should be interesting seeing how things are going to go. But on the flip side, that is life. I mean, really, as soon as you feel like you're getting your feet under you and everything's going the way it's supposed to go, that is 100% when the rug gets pulled out and you have a curveball come your way and you get to readjust and refigure it out. So wouldn't be life if it just was nice and quiet and stable and easy. So next challenge coming down the way. But I'm ready. I'm getting myself all armored up and ready to see what I need to face next. So Brian, how are you?
I've been feeling really off since about Friday. And I can't figure out why. Like, nothing's really happened. There's been no change in my medicine. I'm still taking everything. So there's, it's nothing like that. I don't know. It's just really, really strange. I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's maybe just something in my head because of weather or, but I've just been feeling really, really irritable, especially over the last week. I mean, odds are what it is, it's probably a depression spiral. It's just, because I'm noticing it that I'm just not really wanting to socialize, whether it's online, in person, any of it. I just kind of want to just pull away and just kind of be left alone, but not overwhelmingly. It's one of those to where, like, if I've done something, I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever. But when it's over, I'm like, cool, like it's been very, it's not even quite a meh feeling. It's not there. It's almost like I got up tonight and we were going to have taco salad for dinner. And it just, I don't know why. I was just felt mad that I was making the the food, and it wasn't, I'm the one who planned it. It wasn't like someone put it on me. I'm the one who, yeah, I'll do that or whatever. And then I was just like, so I don't know what's going on, but I'm just, like I said, aside from it just being a depression thing, is I'm just been really kind of irritable over the last almost week now. And so I've been kind of keeping myself, because I don't want to dump that on someone. And I don't mean talk to somebody, but I mean, I don't want to, like, go off on somebody when they haven't done anything, like it'd be 100% me at that point. So I don't want to,
I call it minimizing collateral damage.
Yeah, basically it's like the best way for me to make sure that doesn't happen is to kind of keep to myself a little bit for, until I'm feeling better. It's weird, because I know you both can understand this, is it almost feels like a little bit of, like, withdrawal. Like medicine withdrawals more so than anything, but that's kind of almost what it feels like, is, like how like when you change, like, an antidepressant, you kind of feel just really irritable for a little while and different stuff. And that's really what it's feeling like, but I haven't, like I said, nothing has changed in my medicine. I've been,
I know this is going to sound really, really, really weird.
Yeah.
But you might want to try Primson.
Try what?
It's called Primson, PMS medication.
Oh.
I know. You want to Google it, double check to make sure. I don't believe it has any female hormones in it, but, or anything silly like that. But it really helps with irritability and short temper and things like that. I believe it's been a long time I've read an article about actually that it is safe for men to take as well.
No,
but it basically helps to balance you out a little bit.
Right.
And because and it's got a little bit of a pain med, I think, in it, if I'm not mistaken. But it really is helpful. And I know it sounds funny, especially, recommending a guy to take it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Because honestly, that's what women go through every 3.5 weeks.
No, what I was just thinking is I actually might have an actual reason for it that I wasn't thinking about. Was Thursday,
Shot?
Thursday I got my testosterone shot.
Hormones.
And it very well, I wonder if that's what it is because that would make sense, because I said since about Friday, and Thursday is when I got the shot. About halfway through the day is when I got the shot. So, and usually, like the next day is when I start feeling different. So maybe this time it was, whatever. So that actually, that would make a lot of sense as to what it was. So, okay. So either way, or it could be that, I was kind of irritable because of depression, and maybe this, I don't know, maybe it heightens it, as well. I don't know. I'll have to talk to my doctor about it when I go back up there.
Absolutely.
'Cause, like I said, it's not something I can't work through and live through. It's just one of those, it would help if it became something where I'm like, okay, this is possible. It'd be a little easier to process and plan for, whereas, as it is now, it feels like it came out of nowhere, which it may not have, so I'll definitely have to talk to them about it. So.
Yeah. I'm getting really well acquainted with the whole hormone thing.
Yeah.
I'm getting to be about that age, and ladies know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
To put it in perspective, Brian, almost the entire summer, I've worn sleeveless shirts. You know how cold I used to be?
Yeah.
In air conditioning and everything?
Yeah.
Not so cold anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, son of a gun.
Yeah.
'Cause my mom's the one that mentioned it out when I'm like, wait a minute. Why am I warm all the time? It's really hot in here. Isn't it hot in here? And she's looked at me. I'm like, no.
It's like, honey,
like,
honey, you're getting old.
She's looked at me. She's like, and I'm like, it's too early. So she's like, yeah, you're a little young, but you're in the wheelhouse. She's like, you're in the window. And I'm like, son of a gun.
Yeah. And you
Dang
never
it.
know. Some people do. Like, I think my mom, I think, hit that point in her like mid to late 40s. So, like you said, it's a little early, but not out of the realm of possibility for sure. But yeah.
Especially for the early signs, which one of them is temperature change.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you become much warmer a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So.
Good fun.
The change. I'm going to become a lizard.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I completely hijacked your.
No, it's fine. I was just trying to think of what else. Anyways, it's like I went and hung out with Tony on Saturday, and we tried some of the worst anythings I've ever drank, which was these Bud Light seltzer. They have for fall. They have what they're calling like a flannel pack or something like that, and it's these 4 flavors. There's like maple pear, apple crisp, pumpkin spice, and toasted marshmallow. And oh my God, were they terrible. There's a video up if you want to go watch it. If you go on YouTube and type in Salty Language Pod, you can find a video of the two of us drinking these and see our reactions to them. But oh man, were they bad. Thank goodness we took 1 can and split it of each flavor. Because I couldn't have drank a full can of probably any of them. That's how much I hated them. And it's not just sweet, whatever, blah, blah. It's like the flavoring is just not good in them. It's so bad. But talk about something that'll stay with you overnight and whatever. Oh my God. Like I kept tasting them all the way to the next day. I was just like, God, I got to find something to eat or drink that's going to kill this flavor because these are so terrible.
And I have the answer to that. My mom, very sweet woman, I love my bourbon, bought me some beer she saw at the grocery store. That was a bourbon barrel porter.
Okay.
Peppermint.
Okay. That's a weird combo, but okay.
horrible. It is the most disgusting beer ever.
Yeah.
It'll pretty much make you forget anything bad that you've ever had in your life.
I don't know why you would want mint with a smoky taste, but okay. That's a very weird combo.
It's kind of like heavy and sweet and like a minty aftertaste to it. It's, you know what it's like? It's like brushing your teeth and drinking porter.
Mmm.
Delicious.
Yeah. I highly recommend doing that.
Yeah.
But you know, that was fun, but it was still also just awful because the taste and just stayed with me for a full day. But but it, like I said, it was fun. We had a good time, but it was it was something. I've really been. I got therapy next week, which is good because I had to cancel last time, so I really need to go this time. Because I've been really, really struggling with my agoraphobia. Because I've really, you know, like I said, I've been kind of about everything anyway, but I also have just not wanted to go anywhere. Like the other day, we needed a few things from the store. I had to get some medicine, you know, so, and if we only have a few things to get, I won't bother doing the pickup, you know, where I call it in, because it's like, I can go get it, you know, and be out of there. So I was like, so we get there, and I just sat in the car for, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, and my mom's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I do not want to do this. Like, everything in me just does not want to do this, you know, and I did because it needed to be done. But the whole time I'm in there, I just wanted out of there, you know, really badly. And I'm noticing that's happening a little more too. Like, I don't, you know, I don't want to leave the house. And I think a lot of that obviously is I have agoraphobia, but also, you know, every day you turn the news on and it's, you know, COVID numbers this, COVID numbers that, you know, vaccinated people are getting sick too. And, you know, it's like all this stuff. And my brain already, for anyone who doesn't know, agoraphobia isn't just like the fear of like spaces or going out or whatever, but it also can be, you know, my safe zone shrinks to where the only place I feel safe is like in bed or in my room or in the house, something like that. And, you know, when I hear a lot of that kind of stuff, I'm just like, you know, well, if I stay in bed under the covers, I'm safe. You know, like,
you gotta start expanding your safe zones.
Exactly. But that's the hard part. No,
Yeah.
the hard part is that we live right now in an age where we've been told don't go do certain things because it's dangerous. So it feeds right into it. So it's been a struggle from the beginning of lockdown on, you know, to where I've been fighting with this really heavily. And, you know, I just every once in a while I need the help in therapy to kind of, you know, reset my path a little bit and whatever, because it's a really hard fight. You know, it was bad enough for a long time, but as I've gotten older, it's just, you know, as it does, agoraphobia doesn't, you know, without really working on it, it doesn't generally just, you know, go poof and go away. Usually, you know, it kind of gets worse over time. So, yeah. So that's about where I'm at right now. It's just, I haven't been in a great spot, but I also nothing really bad has happened. You know, like I'm very much still in the place where I can see the perspective, you know, to where it's like, this stuff feels really heavy to me. It feels hard to deal with. It's all this kind of stuff. But I also know, essentially, I'm safe. I'm okay. You know, there's a roof over my head. There's food in my belly. You know, like my needs are met. So it's, you know, it's just been a, you know, and that's essentially, I think, where my win ends up being, is that I've not lost sight of my perspective and what's going on. Because a lot of times when I get these kind of feelings, you really start tumbling down the complete path of losing sight of that you're still blessed, you know, that you're still in a really good spot compared to, heck, just, the news of a couple days ago from the, people that just went through that hurricane or whatever, like I've got so much that they don't have right now, so, it is amazing how, like Henno was saying, like even though you're in a place of overwhelm, essentially, your tools still work. And a lot of that's because you practice those tools long enough that they become like muscle memory, and that's kind of where I'm at here too, is even though I'm in whatever place I'm in, my tools are still working to where I'm, for the most part, to where I'm still able to go, you're still good, you're still okay, even though my brain is just like a little kid trying to get its mom's attention or something, like it sucks. Shut up. So
Very true.
yeah,
Well, I've got the topic for tonight. And we are going to do the topic. I know. The time. It's not a long topic, folks, but I think it's a very important topic. And this is actually a meme that was sent to me.
A meme?
A meme? A dank meme?
A dank meme.
It is high functioning anxiety. And I never thought about it or in this manner, or would never be able to put it together in such a concise and a dead on manner. But this is from Honestly Holistic and Therapy with Abby. Are the two, the ats that are associated with this meme. And since they're ats, I would gather those are Twitter handles.
Yeah, or Instagram, one or the other. Yeah.
Or Instagram. But I bet you if you Google, you'll figure it out. So the very first one that is mentioned is what you see from a high-functioning anxiety, a person with high-functioning anxiety, is that they're helpful. How it feels to them is something will go wrong if I don't do everything myself. You will see them as organized. In their head, my mind frequently jumps to the worst case scenario and I feel out of control if I'm not prepared. Hardworking to them means I'm not naturally talented or intelligent, so I need to work harder than everyone else. Detail-oriented. I'm fearful of being blamed and criticized if I make even the smallest mistake.
I think that was mine a lot at work, and where you get labeled a perfectionist in that scenario, and sometimes it's not that you're a perfectionist as much as it's you don't want to give anyone any reason to put you down.
Absolutely.
And there's a weird difference in between that and a perfectionist, because it's like, I didn't need things to be perfect because they have to be perfect. I needed them to be perfect so I wouldn't get criticized.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that my boss still doesn't, none of my bosses really understand it, but my boss now is pretty good at recognizing I have to do this, is when I make a mistake, I have to know why.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have to understand what happened. And most of the time they're like, just freaking past it, It's like, you made a mistake, own it, move on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do that. I have to know, where did this number come from? Was it a fat finger? Is this number next to the number on the, on the keyboard? Mm-hmm. So maybe I did that. Was it, did I juxtapose a couple numbers? Was it like my eyes playing tricks? All understandable and acceptable. Was the wrong number on the sheet that I was copying from? Did I copy and paste it wrong? All that stuff. I have to know why. And my boss gets mad at me sometimes, and we got a little frustrated with each other. And because she was explaining something to me, and I'm like, but why? And she was explaining it. I'm like, but, and I don't want to be a little kid sitting around, why?
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I need to understand why. I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
And she kept telling me, she's like, well, this is, and I'm like trying to think of other words than why, because I don't want to say the same word over and over again.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't get this. So I walked away. And I thought about it for a while, and she thought about it, and she came back and she readdressed it with me, which I give her tons of props for doing. She's like, I think you got a little, was a little irritated earlier, and it clicked in my head why that you probably were getting irritated, you weren't understanding. And then I thought of a better way of explaining, so I wanted to explain it again. And so she came at it from a different direction. And I had taken the time to try to think about it from another way. And when she combined that with what I was thinking, I was like, okay, click, got it.
Right.
It's like the light bulb went off. Like, and I really appreciate the fact that she took the time, instead of discarding my feelings or kind of moving past the situation, going, oh, she's just having a bad day, or just kind of talking
just
away.
You figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. She took the time to take the moment to think about the situation and try to analyze how she could handle it better, and then come back and readdressed it.
Right.
So, I mean, that's obviously a sign of a really, really good manager, because I don't know if I would be able to do that as successfully as she did. So, I mean, I give her tons of props for doing it. But it's my anxiety to understand why things are the way they are, so that I can make sure I don't make a mistake, because I can understand the whole process. I can understand all the moving pieces, so that I can make sure that I don't clog the, cogs up, the wheels up.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. I mean, if you know what caused it, you generally will be more aware to not repeat whatever it was. Now, the frustrating part from the other side of that is that a lot of times mistakes in those kind of scenarios are seriously just like you said, it's a fat finger, or it's just something that was, it was a one-off that you 99 times out of 100 won't do, but just one time you did and it became an issue, blah, 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 and to them, they're just like, don't worry about it, because all these other things you've done are right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, to them, it's no big deal. But to you, it's like, I need to know why. I need to know, that's a tough thing. And really, that anxiety, that's where, anxiety really fills in with control, because you feel that need to have that answer so you can control the scenario. And it's a really hard habit to break. I totally get it, because I'm the same way. You know that from knowing me as long as you have. If something doesn't make sense in my brain, my brain won't rest. I need that answer to figure out, what I did or whatever. And really, it isn't a big deal, but it becomes a big deal to people with anxiety. And that's why we talked about this, before, when we talked about like overthinking, and how to one person it's overthinking, but to someone else it may not be. And it's a similar thing in this, is to one person it's like, who cares? Let it go. And you're like, no, you don't get it. Like that isn't how I'm built, And again, like you said, your manager recognizing that and coming back to you shows the ability for her as a leader to not go, here's my cookie cutter leader style, fit in the box or don't. Mm-hmm. That was her literally going, hey, I want to make sure you understand this. And whether it was for your good or her good, it doesn't matter. In the end, it was great that she was able to do that and that you guys were able to communicate, because again, it's important. You can take multiple people, and one communication style does not work with everybody in the group. It's nice if it does, but it many times does not,
Exactly. Another scenario I had, where I made a mistake because they told me something 3 months ago and I did forget it. 3 months is a long time to have to remember something, but it is what it is. Did forget.
Yeah.
So that's on me. But, so, I forgot. I went ahead and I paid some invoices that they told me don't pay. There was no anything else other than don't pay this 3 months before.
Yeah.
But I paid them to clean up my account or whatever, and did my normal checks and balances and stuff. And, there's some people that are kind of upset about the whole scenario, and it bothered me. And I stayed, I was up that the night before. I was thinking about it. And so I drafted a message to my boss and her boss. And I said, I know I can't unpay, the invoices that I paid, but what I can do is offer you some suggestions on things we can do to prevent that from happening in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with 3 different ideas. I proposed 3 different ideas to make our process stronger. So going forward, we won't have issues.
Well, that makes sense, right? Like if you're you're a couple and one of you goes, hey, don't pay this, but it's going to be months before it's due. By the time it's due, odds are you're in like, oh, this all needs to be paid mode. Boom, 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 out the door. Okay, hey, all the bills are paid. Well, you didn't pay this and this, did you? Like it seems so like easy to fall into that. It's like like you said, like you need something that pops up like on a screen or something that says, hey, remember, don't pay this, or something to that effect, so that, because that is a lot, and you guys have so much info coming through your brains all the time that it's very easy for something like that you're not practicing to just get kicked out the door, So
yeah, and it's not like, I'm not being raked over the coals over it or anything like that. People do recognize the fact that it was an honest mistake and legitimate, understandably, honest mistake.
Yeah.
But it's still, it was.
Yeah. But it'd be better if there was a way to.
Ultimately, that was the result.
Better way, if there's a better way to flag it or do something that, reminds you of that. Even if, it's like, I remember that. It's like, well, we're just doing it just in case, like, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly. All right. So I left off with detail-oriented. Okay, next one. Yes person. In their minds, they're thinking, if I say no, I'll be letting people down. Which is interesting because my therapist and I were having a conversation, and I am notoriously not known for speaking my opinion or speaking my mind. I keep things that are controversial or that I feel may be upsetting to someone or anger somebody. I keep a lot of that stuff inside.
Right.
And I was talking to my therapist, and we were talking about that. And she asked me, she's like, why? And she's like, what's going to happen is if you tell someone your honest opinion on something or truly how you feel about something. And I'm like, they'll get upset. And she's like, and if they do?
Mm-hmm.
And
this is I'm not going to lie. The first time my therapist played that game with me, it really opened my eyes to stuff. And I do it to myself a lot now, to where if there's a fear or something I run into, I try to do that and see if I can, because sometimes you can't because you're still wearing the fog cover, the rose colored glasses or whatever, but it's amazing how many times you can go, well, if I do that, well, what'll happen? Well, then they'll get mad. And like, so yeah.
And I said, and they go away. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. I said, so that's, we were almost towards the end of our session. So that it would be a bag that needs to be unpacked at some point.
Right.
It's a pretty big bag, so it's going to take a little while to unpack that sucker. But we just discovered maybe a 4-pack of luggage
Yeah.
sitting over in the
Oh,
corner.
I totally get that. That's why the first thing I told when I got my newer therapist, the first thing I told her was like, I was like, well, let's get you caught up because I got a lot of stuff to unpack. And she's like, okay, you know. And every so often while I'm in there, you know, we'll find something else or kind of, you know, really work that knot out, you know, kind of a scenario, you know, and they're like, oh, this is one we're going to have to work on for a while.
So, yeah. So I understand the whole yes person situation.
Yeah. A lot of people do that though, because like they're afraid if they say no, or I can't handle or can't do this, that it'll affect them potentially getting a promotion or a raise or whatever down the line, or just opportunities of any kind, you know, and it's really tough because if you say no, many times it's met with almost like a, how dare you, you know, and that reinforces the want for people to be yes people instead of speaking their truths. Like if you can't handle something, it should be okay to say, hey, I'm full, you know, like I can't do any more. Like we need to either reprioritize some things so I can fit this, or you need to find someone else. But so many people don't feel that that's an okay thing, you know, so they just, well, yeah, sure, I can take that. And it's like, you know, and then they'll, you know, like stay all weekend working on stuff instead of, you know, saying, no, I have to go for the weekend or something like that. So, yeah.
Exactly.
It's tough.
High functioning anxiety folks will come across as self-sufficient. And in their minds, if I ask for help, people will think I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or I'm weak. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
What's
funny is most of the time, if I didn't ask for help on something, I fit more into the just get out of the way, I'll do it category than I do in the I'll do it so no one sees me as weak category.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was more like, just get out of the way, because if I do it, I know it's done right, or the way I perceive is right. You know,
that's probably more accurate.
That is 100% my thing. Mine was more control based than anything else, because mine was seriously just the, you know, I'd rather do it myself than have to tell you 3 times how to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing, folks. It may seem like it is, but it's really not. If you're one of those kind of people, work on that, because it's not good for you or anyone else, because it makes other people feel like they can't help or they can't do anything, you know?
Yeah. Well, this next one is the Sesame Street one of all of them. Which one of these things is not like the others? It's active. I have never been accused of being active. And yeah, that'll never probably ever happen. But unless I'm manic. If I'm manic, then I'm pretty darn active.
That's true.
Yeah.
I can vouch for you on that one 100%.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because before we knew you were bipolar, it was like, where are you getting all this energy?
I'm like seriously an Energizer bunny. I'll clean the house and do the shopping, put everything away, and still be raring to go for more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is not me at all, folks. Right. I mean, I've hired someone to clean my house. So yeah, it's not me. Anyways, the last active. I guess I shouldn't gloss over it.
Yeah. That one's not me. We're not talking about that one.
Who needs to hear about this one? It doesn't apply to me.
Right.
You know who I am.
Right.
All right, this one is active. I don't know how to switch off and relax without feeling guilty. So, which I can absolutely understand that position in anxiety. It just so happens to be something I've not experienced. But
I have.
Yeah?
Because it's tough, because like I come from, like, my dad was never really a sit around and do nothing guy until, like, he'd get up, breakfast, go get newspaper, whatever, do things throughout the day, work, blah, 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 come home, tool around a little bit, eventually he would finally sit down to really maybe read the paper or relax, but he was a goer, like, let's go, let's do this, let's whatever. He just didn't really like to sit, and because a lot of it was, he wasn't a huge reader. He wasn't one of those that would sit and do kind of passive activities. He didn't love sitting and watching TV, like, he'd rather just go do things instead. But I'm very much had some of that in me, and I don't anymore. I used to have quite a bit of that in me to where I was really up for anything, and now I'm very much not. And I have a lot of guilt, even for me, and like, I don't have a job. I don't have anyone that's like, you have to get this, this, and this done today. But if I don't get something done off my to-do list or whatever, I will guilt the heck out of myself for not being active, for not doing anything that day. And there's days where I don't feel like doing whatever, and I'll sit and I'll play video games, and I will beat myself up over it. I've gotten much better about it, to where it's like, hey, you know what? This isn't one of those days. It was one of the things I really loved when I was in high school. The one art teacher I had, like, if I went into his room and was like, I'm not feeling creative today, he'd be like, then don't work on this. Let's find something else to do, or maybe you can help me do some framing or something to that effect, because I don't want you to put bad energy into your art, And I always liked that, or if I went in, because, he knew I had migraines, and if I was fighting a bad headache, he'd let me go sit in the back room where it was dark, and that was the only teacher I ever had that would do that took those considerations, So, and that kindness is, what I try to allow myself now when I still feel those things. Now, of course, you have to be careful that it's not, a week, a month of that, like at some point, yeah, you probably should do some things, whatever they need to be, and I didn't abuse it. I didn't go in there and, I don't feel like working, just to, get a day off or whatever. But, so yeah, like I said, it's weird, because for someone who a lot of people would look at and goes, well, you don't really do anything. It's like, I have so much guilt from not doing anything. And it sucks, because I also have depression and anxiety that basically make it really, really hard for me to do things a lot of times. So it's, it's like someone holding you down all day and you feeling guilty because you can't get anything accomplished.
Yeah.
Yes, there is an element in there that I do control, but there's also a large element that I don't, so.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's one of those things that I think it can affect you in different ways depending on how your anxiety manifests with your active level. Like for me, I'd be guilty for not doing enough. There's some people who feel guilty for not doing everything, like that too. So, like, oh man, I shouldn't have sat and watched a baseball game tonight. I should have been doing this, this, and this. And, and it's like, nah, really, it's okay. I think even like Henno, you've talked about that before, where where you're like, I sat on the couch and played video games all night, and like, I should have done this or whatever. But it's like, nah, you should have sat on the couch and played video games that night, because that's what you needed.
That's been my biggest difficulty in the last, couple weeks. Well, actually, it's been a couple months, been most of the summer with work, but more so in the last few weeks, because I'm not that stressed out at work.
Yeah.
That I couldn't be doing something.
Right.
Seem to make some excuses and this kind of stuff. And that's where that's where I was talking about earlier, is where it's self-inflicted, and
yeah.
I can make choices.
Right.
Yeah. It's not, yeah, you're right. I mean, it all comes down to making appropriate choices for you in your life and what you want.
Yep.
And there's a lot of these I talk about with couple of my coworkers, just the nature of what we do during the day. If you can't handle a certain, there's a certain level of anxiety that enhances your performance.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you allow it to fall to the part where it's detracting from your performance, then or if it's always there at the forefront, like that you can't handle it, then you shouldn't be doing the work that we do, because we are always being pulled left and right, and you're never going to get it all done, and things are just going to hit you too hard. And when you're dialed into it, it can be an asset.
Right. Well, yeah, because like you said, like a lot of athletes have talked about how, they still get butterflies before they perform. I've heard pro wrestlers talk about it. And it's like, you can use that because that anxiety is going to get your body to produce adrenaline, because when we're anxious, we start the fight or flight process, and, your body kicks in some adrenaline. So if you do have to run, you're primed. Yep. So that can be very good. But like you said, if you go too far with it, then it's, it can be also very, very bad, because, you're in a heightened state and you can't handle it because your adrenaline's pumping through your body at this point.
We start getting into the actual physiological aspects of it. Too much cortisol.
Right. Exactly.
And then it affects your sleeping patterns and this and that and your diet and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the last one we have is high functioning anxiety people are often considered very confident. And to them, sometimes I chatter out of nervousness, then overanalyze everything I've said. 1,000,000%.
It's funny because they're seen as confident, but many times their actions are actually signs of low confidence. Because like it was a few points ago where, you made that point about, like where I was talking about, like the perfectionism, essentially. Some people do it from a low self-esteem point, but like I would do it for that reason, and I'd get a lot of stuff done at work. Like I always got a bunch of stuff done while I worked, and people are like, wow, look at, and it's like, yeah, it wasn't that I was confident. It was more like, I want to make sure it's done right, because again, I don't want anyone to pick on me. I don't want to give anyone a weakness, cause I that was my concern at that point. So it's interesting how it can seem as though you're confident or, a very good worker or really good at time management and all these kind of things. And really on the inside, you're essentially redlining. You're pushing yourself to limits that you shouldn't be pushing yourself to. And to everyone else, they're just like, man, look at him. Like, that's great. That's fantastic that you can do all this. Meanwhile, in your head, you're like, like ready to just fall over, basically. It's like, this is not something to be admired.
My original diagnosis was social anxiety disorder.
Right.
I laughed.
Right.
My family had a hard time accepting it. Anyone who knew me on a surface level had a hard time understanding it, because obviously I'm a talker. I wouldn't be talking on a podcast if I wasn't. I can handle social situations. I can handle parties. I'm public speaking. I've done all of that.
Yeah. The only place where I think I'd really see it would be in large crowds.
In large crowds, if you are paying attention to me, you will start seeing it.
Yeah.
Because I start, especially, well, I've talked about it before in the show. I have an extreme fear of crowd mentality. And the emotions that, because crowd mentality basically means that you forego your emotional state of the individual to take on the emotional state of the crowd. And since examples are riots, concerts, stuff like that. Like if you're a concert and everybody starts singing the same song and you had that big warm fuzzy feeling of being all one unit, even though you're 50, 60, hundreds, thousands people, and you're all just feeling close together and stuff. That scares the bejeebers out of me. Like, that's worse than, the It clown in my book. It's like, no.
Yeah. That's why I said that's the only place I'd really see you being socially anxious. Although, given the list that you just went through, you go into people-pleasing mode, which is kind of a yes person thing. You know, like really when you break down that list you just went through, you actually do exhibit some of that stuff in there. So it's not just a, you know, there's like a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of little facets to it. So it does apply, but on the surface it doesn't seem to apply. Because like you said, you know, public speaking, you can host parties, you can do all these other things. But again, think of how many times you've talked on here about how anxious you are before you host something.
Well, and
You
that's
know.
what I was going to
Yeah.
say. At first I laughed.
Right.
Then I read up on it. Then I thought about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's completely
Yeah.
dead on. Because that's it exactly. It's like, on the surface, I have no problems meeting new people. I have no problems carrying myself in all sorts of situations. But I am an anxious wreck ahead of time, and afterwards, days. I can beat myself up over
Right.
every single thing I've said, I did, how my hands were, how I was standing,
Wait,
if I
wait.
was sitting too much.
You said hands, right?
Yep.
Okay. I thought you said hams. That's why I was like, what?
Hands.
Like, because I'm like, well, maybe she's meaning like you're cooking, you know? Like, I was like, that doesn't make sense.
No, that was the most recent social function I was at. I was obsessed with what to do with my hands.
That's
because
understandable
I was
though,
moving around.
because in like body language coaching and stuff, they teach people what to do with their hands. Because as people, we don't know what to do with our hands unless we put them in our pockets or we fold our arms or fidget, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like getting your arms and hands to just be calm and be not having to move and do something, or like I said, you know, be in your pockets the whole time, because, you know, that's seen as uninviting, you know, same with crossing your arms or whatever, folding your arms, you know? So,
Exactly.
yeah, it makes sense. I love to this day. I love joking with that with people. Like, I don't know what to do with my hands, because you don't most of the time. Having phones helps, because almost all the time we've got our phone in our hand, at least now.
Oh, my phone has saved me from so many situations.
And I'll bet everybody's done the old move where you're out in public, you don't really, you're just standing waiting on something and you pretend like you're looking at your phone.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're not really doing anything on it, you're just like, oh yes, this.
I have this burning desire to know what that bird is over there. Yeah, let me
Yes.
Google it.
Right?
I must know his name.
I've done it because I'll go into a store with my brother and then he'll be like, hey, I'm going to go use the bathroom real quick. And we've already looked at what we're going to look at. And I'm like, you know, so I'm standing there with my phone and, you know, usually I'll scroll Twitter or something like that, but it's still kind of the same idea to where you're just like, I don't want to look like I'm a creep just standing here.
Well, then this is how my mind's messed up. So as I'm using my phone and I'm Googling something or whatever to keep myself occupied and busy, I'm consciously aware of where my phone is pointing, because I don't want someone to think I'm taking a picture of them
Yeah.
or taking pictures in of like their shop or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, a phone must be down, but not down so far that they can see my screen, because I don't want people to know what I'm doing. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of space up in this head because of all the freaking thoughts that are bouncing around all hours of the day.
Yeah. The one where I don't want someone thinking I'm taking a picture of them, I've done that too, because I have noticed that the line that I'm holding my phone at to someone, if they look over, it may seem as though I'm taking a picture of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I have adjusted where I hold my phone sometimes. You know, I try to be a little more aware of that than I used to be. Mainly because of, you know, all those years ago when you and I were at that one place and I got yelled at by the woman for, she claimed I was staring at her and her,
It wasn't me.
No.
Tony
No. It was you. You had gone to the restroom and I was sitting there and a woman came up and just started yelling at me for being a creep and staring at her. And all I was doing, I was staring over her head at the TV because they had CNN on and I was watching something on CNN. And she thought I was staring at her the whole time. And I was like, yeah, no, I wasn't. But for some reason, she had, she thought she was worth staring at. So, yeah. So after that, I've been a little more aware of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when I go into restaurants and they have like the TV right over a booth or right over where someone's sitting. I hate it so much because of that reason now. Because I'm like, if I stare at this TV, somebody over there is probably going to feel like I'm staring at them, even though my eye line is not at them. It'll be up, but it's still similar. So if you're opening a restaurant or something, put the TVs up higher or away from, don't put them directly over somebody. All right.
They do that so that the guys in the booth can stare at the TV.
Oh, I know,
and
yeah.
in the booth would think that they're actually talking to them and staring at them.
Yeah. But that's annoying.
Yes, for both parties.
I don't need some random woman coming up on me yelling at me. Like, lady, if I was going to creepily stare at you, listen, I've been about a foot away from a bartender in a dark bar and taking a picture of her with my flash on my phone. Like, if I was staring at you, you'd know it, because I have no game.
I don't even know if I want to know the story about the bartender.
I had a few drinks.
I guess. Did she have issues with this?
I was texting with somebody and I said something about us having a really cute bartender. And they said, the guy, it was a guy I was talking with, and he was like, send me a picture. And I was like, I'll see what I can do. And she was cleaning glasses, as they do. And she was standing right there, and I just took a picture of her. She just laughed and kept doing what she was doing. She didn't care.
Well, that's
she did
good.
not care at all.
She
Yeah.
had a good sense of humor about it.
Yeah. Oh, it was easily the biggest creep move I've ever pulled. Like I said, she was maybe a foot and a half away from me, and I just held the phone out, and the flash went off, and I was like, "Oh boy!" Oh well, too late now. There's no covering that. There's nothing you can say in that to save you. You are 100% caught in that environment. So
that's when you say, "Oh, selfie."
No, because I told her, I said, afterwards, because she laughed, and I told my friend I had a cute bartender, and she laughed, she's like, thanks, and then just went back to work. So, yeah. Honestly, given all the creeps they deal with, it was probably low on the creep level.
Oh, I'm sure.
At least that's just something like, whatever, that was,
Yeah, I'm sure you're 100% right on that.
Yeah.
That is funny, though.
Yeah, so that's why I said if I have zero game. If I do something, it's going to be as awkward as possible. That's my move. So
I was waiting tables at one point, and a guy came in with like an older gentleman, and with a few, not super older, not like adorably Hugh Hefner-y type guy.
Okay.
This is kind of like middle-aged kind of.
Okay.
So he comes in with his people, and according to one of the other waitresses, he's with the mob. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I'm waiting on this table, and he's like, calling me doll and darling and all sorts of names, and whatever. I don't care.
I know.
Just smile. Whatever.
I hate that so much, but yeah, anyway.
Before I like dropped off the check or something like that, and he's like, "How about a little kiss, darling?"
Ugh.
So I looked at him. I'm like, okay. In my head, I'm like, tip, punch, tip.
Like, do we sell Hershey's Kisses?
So finally, I'm like, it dawned on me. I'm like, got it. So I blew him a kiss, and then I continued on my way.
Right.
With my job.
Yeah.
And and thankfully that came to me, and it worked. He laughed, they laughed, we're all good.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm like, creepy customer, probably the creepiest I've dealt with.
Yeah.
And
it's understandable, because it's like, so many people, that was just innocent, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it's not, because I put you in an uncomfortable scenario. Like, even just you breaking down what you was going through your head at the time, you shouldn't have to go through that, you know, and that's just, yeah.
And the whole point of it was, that's the issue, folks. The whole point was not to get a kiss from me.
Yeah.
The point was to make me uncomfortable.
Right.
To see what I would do in front of his friends.
Right.
So he was trying to make me basically the butt of a joke for his friends' amusement, you know, dance monkey.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just not, that's never right.
Yeah. I don't like that. And I don't care how well the tip is afterwards. That's still not, you know, that doesn't
It's
justify.
not appropriate behavior.
And that's why I said, like, with what I did, I'm not saying that, you know, I
No,
absolutely should not have done that, you know.
But still, it was was by no way as creepy as you know.
But I should
asking for a kiss.
Right, but I should have asked her before I took a picture of her. You know,
polite.
100%, and I full on, you know.
Alcohol was involved, and she does recognize the fact that the alcohol was involved.
Yeah.
So I'm sure.
I think the bigger part of it was that I wasn't a creep to her the whole time we were there. I was really, you know how I am. I'm always, you know, if someone gets me something, I'm always a please and thank you guy, and I'm always courteous and whatever. So I think it was that I wasn't giving off major creep vibes, like, except for that. And even that, she seemed to find
her. It was like her doing her work.
Yeah, and it wasn't like. It wasn't like like she busted up when it happened, because I think she immediately was like, he's trying to be smooth, and his flash went off, you know, like, just the humor of the whole thing caught it. But like I said, looking back, it was, you know, not something I'm necessarily proud of, but it was funny at the time, you know, only because she didn't seem offended by it, and I hope she wasn't, but, you know.
Yeah, I think you're good.
And I did apologize. I know that doesn't make it right either, but I did what I could to make it right after I did something really stupid. So, you know,
it happens.
Yeah. So
I guess brings us to our closing, folks. We covered a lot of ground tonight, a lot of stuff to talk about. And if you would like to continue the conversation with us, you know what to do. You can reach us at the Crazy Life Podcast crazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. Our email address is thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And if you would like to reach me, you can reach me on the Twitters at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. Forgot my at. I will also let you folks know that I am down to 3 hours a day phone time.
Oh, that's way less than me. Maybe not this week. I'm curious to see what it is this week, because I haven't been spending as much time chatting. But weirdly enough, I've been back on, like, scrolling Twitter, because I think I found my sweet spot of when to be on there.
Oh, there you go.
Because I noticed a lot of times, like, in the very middle of the night, there's not tons of politics, and a lot of the people on there are more like making observations and stuff, and not like, it's not just full of venom. So yeah. I think I found my spot there. And then about sunrise, it's time to hop off there, because that's when the politics come out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I was up to 9 hours a day. So, yeah. Henno, just the look on your face.
Henno's going to look. His is going to be like 10 minutes a day. I'm not even going to look at mine. Mine's going to be bad. Mine's probably like 10 or so hours. I'm not going to lie. It's probably been bad. But a lot of mine's because I play a couple of games on there, and I'm on there a lot because there's tournaments. Yeah. So you have to play a bunch. So every week, and there are tournaments every week. So it's going to keep my numbers way up, because the weekends I'm on a lot, you know. So it's probably like around where yours was, though, Jen. Because I haven't been on Twitter or Instagram a ton, but the games I play definitely have probably kept my number high.
All right, we got
4 hours.
Oh, okay.
See, there you go.
That's respectable.
So I'm not on the Twitters as much as I used to be, obviously. But if you message me, I will be there.
I hate the fact that my alarm clock gets counted.
Yeah, that is really stupid.
Lame.
It's
Yeah.
dumb.
That is not fair at all.
Yeah. All right, I just looked at mine, and mine is 11 hours and 14 minutes, which is down 12% from last week.
Jeez.
But like I said, on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm on a lot of the day playing in those tournament things, and so that takes up a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, my husband plays a game that does the tournaments and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
I can only imagine what his hours are.
Yeah, and also there's daily stuff you're supposed to do and whatever, because I'm in groups where they have requirements. So I mean, I could cut it down if I did, but I finally gotten groups that are active in these games that I play, so I kind of like it now.
Right.
Before it was very inactive and less fun.
All right, Hanno, how can they find you?
Find me on Twitter at IdaHenno. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and all that. Just look for Hanno Heiter. And check out my other podcast, Moving the Needle podcast, where we just recently reviewed a movie called Old. It's a new release. It's probably the newest release we've reviewed in a while. And it was
that the M. Night Shyamalan movie where they're on the island or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
On a beach, yeah.
Beach, yeah, okay.
So you just listen to the podcast. You don't even need to see the movie because we spoil everything, and the podcast is honestly better than the movie.
I was going to say it's probably true because it did not look good.
And coming up in a week or so, depending on how much I am the procrastinator, we are what was it again? Fifth Element versus Demolition Man. That's it. That was fun.
Okay. That's a good combo to compare.
It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
So, check it out.
Yeah, that sounds way more fun. All right, you can reach this show on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram if you'd like to look at Stunami. You can find my other podcast on Twitter at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work. Again, if you want to see a video of me and my best friend Tony drinking really terrible seltzers, that's up on YouTube at Salty Language Pod. Or the link for it will be on our website. Where am I? I got lost, sorry. Our Facebook group can be found at facebook.com/groups/crazylifepodcast. We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out the other shows on there. And, I think that's all the links. If you need help, please reach out. Please try to find help if you can. I know September's Suicide Prevention Month. So for sure, if you're feeling suicidal, please talk with someone. Please get help if you need it there. And also, please reach out to your friends, make sure they're doing okay, because a lot of us are still dealing with things feeling real heavy. Some of us are dealing with it feeling heavier, because as hopeful as all of us were through the summer, it kind of feels like some of that's eroded over the last few months, or last few weeks, month, whatever, So please reach out and talk to people. Also, it'll be good for your social skills, because seriously, there's a lot of people I've seen out in public that are just not good at talking to people anymore. Like, I think as a group of, humanity, our social skills has eroded over this, last year, because we haven't had to talk the same to people and everything. So, please reach out and talk to your, especially your friends or people you haven't talked to for a while. And, of course, as always, please be kind to one another. There's just so much anger and dumbness being spread by people. Like, please be kind. As Henno said earlier, please give people space and not just like a social distancing thing, but, you know, we all screw up. We all say things we maybe shouldn't say, you know, so give people some space and, you know, we're all under a lot of stress right now. So, you know, don't jump down someone's throat just because they make a mistake, you know, unless it's personal, then that's a different story. No. But anyway, yeah, please be kind to one another and just put some good energy out there.
All right, folks. One thing I did want to make sure I mentioned, and Brian kind of touched on it a little bit, was relationships are much more important than politics, than, you know, opinions, to all of that stuff and the hatred and stuff that's going on. Instead of fighting with someone, tell them that you respect them enough not to talk about that topic because you value them in your life, in their friendship more than you do an argument. That simple. I had to set those rules with my dad and other people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And do it too. Set your boundaries. Stay firm on your boundaries. But make sure you let people in. With that, go out there and have the best week you possibly can. And don't forget, wiggle those toes.